Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Professor Ramesh Gardas with us. A brief about Professor. He has done his bachelor's, master's and PhD from Veer Narmad South Gujarat University, and then pursuing his passion for research and getting experience from abroad. He moved to University of Coimbra and University of Aveiro in Portugal, and then to United Kingdoms at Queen's University, Belfast. After completing all the postdoctoral studies, learning all these techniques, he joined IIT back in 2010 as an assistant professor, and till since then is there and became the professor now with all the achievements which we'll be discussing in the video. Now, I would like to welcome Professor Ramesh at the platform. Thank you very much, Professor Ramesh.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm delighted to join this conversation. So let's begin the show.
Yes. So we start our conversations that how and when you decided to become a researcher.
Oh, this take me to my BSc days, 92 to 95, where in the chemistry labs, we used to discuss my friends and everybody. So my BSc is from Surat and it's in South Gujarat, where it's an industry hub, especially pharmaceutical and chemical industry hub, where the chemistry subject is more dominant among the science subjects. And while doing experiments in the chemistry laboratories, it was fascinating to see the colors, reactions, and the heat. And I got naturally, while taking for the admission, in my mind, it was the job, what job I will get. But after working in the laboratory, my passion become love towards the chemistry and seeing the color changes and all these things. And however, the number of students in a class was a bit higher. But when I went to my master's PG in South Gujarat University Department, chemistry, where the one-to-one interaction in the laboratories, in the PG laboratories with the professors was very frequent, and how the experiments, how to understand at the molecular level, how they are behaving so, and how the molecules, how we can expect if this is the structure, how it can go. So this made me more fascinating and more understanding. And the aim of looking for an immediate industry job turned into the curiosity to learn more about the chemistry. And then one of my PG professor himself, when I discussed, he was ready to take me to as a research scholar. So this how the seeking for the job become curiosity to understand more about chemistry.
So this is probably one of our first video where we are talking about moving from job to PhD and the fascination, as you said, you seeking for job and ended up joining as PhD student. So if we can, you can share the journey of the PhD and to start with how it ended up.
Yeah. So before starting the journey of my PhD, I would like to add one line about the support from my family, especially my father. So when all my colleagues, all my friends of my age were looking for a job with BSc and MSc, but when I told at my home that I will go for a PhD, the first question my mom asked, how many years this is? She's of PhD. And I told it may take 5 years or maybe slightly longer. Then it was a shock for them. No, no, how come of 5 years a degree? Then I said, no, no, it's not a degree. It's about exploring the new things. It is like investigating, finding out the new things. And I got a tremendous support from my dad. He says, no worries. Whatever you like, you do it. We will wait 5 years, also not a problem. And don't worry about the remaining things of getting job or getting marriage or getting settled. So this is how it started. So I would like to thank my parents for giving me free hand for that. Well, research journey for me, it was not so easy. Why I say it's not so easy? Because we do not have that much facilities. Though in the South Gujarat, The where I did PhD was one of the nice place, great place to do research, but the contemporary, we were looking at international level publication. We don't have that kind of facilities, or we don't have a liberty to use the expensive chemicals. Or so we have to always see about the funds availability and the cost or the analyzing instruments availability. So we tuned our problem such a way we go into more into the depth with the less expensive analysis, but our target was more on understanding and analyzing with the less results. So I say it was not so easy, but so fascinating. So we were putting a lot of efforts in designing the experiment before we perform. And every stage we were looking, do we really need this much expensive data or this much expensive analysis, this much expensive chemicals? Can we do more simply? Can we go really simplest problems, but which really influence the large scale of, if not just for mere academic curiosity, but for really industrial applications. So we were industry people were so many people around. So my classmates or my senior and juniors classmates who went to industry, we used to talk with them. How you feel after MSc you joined industry, after BSc you joined. Is there any avenue with our knowledge while doing PhD? It's not only for degree or award or a reward or just academic curiosity. Will it be, can it be done which is relevant to the industry? And that's how we went the journey. In short, it was not easy, but it was challenging, and we enjoyed that challenging because when we get little bit satisfaction or positive results, and that boosts our confidence. And I would say, in addition to experiments, then we thought, why don't we take my topic was on structure property correlation. So we need to equally spend time on computer. It was the fascinating part is it is less expensive. And further fascinating part is we were talking about something which without doing experiment, how you can predict if structures are like this, somebody has not done experiment, but we can say within a certain range of errors, your properties might be this. And when somebody else in the world do that compound and get the results what we said, that was amazing. And that satisfaction gave us more than anything. So we were so happy. Good.
Satisfaction is one thing which keeps researchers going, in the rest of the world also. So let's talk about the resource limitations in PhD. So we know in India, most of the elite institutes have as good, infrastructures or resources like abroad, but that is not true for most of the research institutes, or we can say the state universities. Different universities have different infrastructures. So what you can guide our future students or PhD students who are currently in their PhD and are limited by resources? Because one thing what we know is that innovation comes from scarcity. That is one what we have been raised with this thought with. But if you can suggest the researchers how should they overcome it, or how should they at least approach it?
Very excellent the point what you have touched upon. But let me say before going to the straight away answer, I have seen as a PhD student in India, as a postdoc and abroad, and once I come back here as a faculty, I'm seeing last 40 years. Things are changing very fast and very positive for India. And those are the days are gone where we used to say Indian facility or the researchers in India cannot be competed with on par. Those are days are gone. Yes. Today, We have extremely well-established laboratories, excellent programs by the governments, be it IRFA, be it what you call industry and academia coming together, or be it internationalization, bilateral project. I myself handled so many bilateral projects with Spain, Portugal, and other countries. So many programs are coming up, and so much facilities are there. So you cannot compare 3-4 decades ago or 2 decades ago and now. Having said that, our country is very vast. Still, there are so many institutes which are not coming up because of our population or number of institutes, or the one side it is a good sign. More and more youngsters are coming towards research.
Yes.
At the same time, it is slightly unfortunate that all of them cannot be accommodated in a reputed institute, or instead of that, say, or we are unable to convert large number of institutes on par with the reputed.
Yes.
So both way it is going on. Both way it is going on. And coming back to your directly the conversation what we were discussing, I would say if some student has extraordinary facilities, be it a chemical, be it a equipment, be it a software, still there is no guarantee that he will be doing path breaking, or she will be doing path breaking. Because innovations comes from the curiosity, dedication, hard work, and involvement. And it's not 9 to 5 job. It's not like that I will come in the morning this time, I will go in the evening this time. Yes, if you have more facilities and you are in elite institutes, your life become little bit simple, but it won't guarantee that you will end with innovative things. And similarly, even if you are in a very scarcity place where guide has so much teaching load, guide has to do so much administrative things, so he can or she can spend little time for your research, still you can discuss, and you don't have access to all the laboratory, what you call all the journal articles, still you can find out how to get it done. And you don't, and people do send for different places for analysis. So when, as you rightly said, innovations mostly comes when you are in scarcity, so they utilize every resources so judiciously, and that thinking pattern will change. And always the question comes, is it really required? Is it really relevant? And that thinking will be saving our time way also. Not only the money, but the time. And I would like to end about this conversation here. Yes, high-end equipment, large chemicals, better places, better environment help. But that's not enough for innovation. For innovation, before this, it comes curiosity, dedication, and involvement.
Absolutely, sir. This is well said. And I would like to say, or probably request all the audience and viewers here, that as Professor Ramesh just mentioned, if your research is curiosity driven, 80% work is done then and there. Now it is about the resources. You might or might not have all what it takes. But then what we know in India, one more thing is like every challenge can be an opportunity. So it is up to you if you can turn the challenges into opportunity. And then even if you have everything, sir also mentioned about thing that you design your experiments, you perform them, you analyze them before doing this entire process. So you are planning it on paper, you are performing it on paper, you are analyzing it on paper. And once you see that at least it is in case of, softwares, they say that when you see that the dry run is working good, that's when you should start it. Because even if you have resources, that doesn't mean that you are going to just, you have a thought and you start performing it without giving it enough of the background or the homework what it is required, because that will only end up mostly majority in the failures, which might or might not give you the stress. So sir, now we would like to touch upon the system and the stress for PhD students. So as you correctly mentioned about what was the scenario in India 3 decades ago is not true for now. But you are in a better position to tell that how this shift has happened and what still is required or lacking in a way where we can improve.
It's a good one. All of us agree that the entire world is moving fast. And same is in research. So researchers also, if I say the patience becomes slightly less, of course, this is my view. Everybody wants, when I have planned in this way, it must go. I usually tell my all students, before you go to the lab, one previous night, you should have plan A. And that is not enough. You should have plan B. It's not enough. You should have plan C and plan D. Why I said so, I told you might think that plan A work. Okay, you thought plan A and that instrument broke. You can't be just stressed out and that, oh, I planned all, I made all reactions, I have made all my solutions and that instrument is not working. Plan B, you might have thought of using another equipment. Some other student have blocked it. Plan C is you might have been thinking to meet with the sir to discuss about this. Sir might have gone for unexpected meeting somewhere else. So always you should have an option of this one, and this has to be ready with you before you enter. And then the stress will go less. And the second thing, I always tell the students that as your results are very important for you, think your colleagues' results are also very important for your colleagues. In this way, when they use any glassware, they clean up and put back because these are the common ones. Because if some student by hurriedly, when they end the experiment and in the evening while going home or the lab or their hostel or somewhere, they couldn't clean well, in that way, the next day, one other student is coming, he is also in hurry to put the reaction and without properly seeing whether it is contaminated or not, his or her reaction will go away. It's not all about the resources, but it's about the time and the frustration what the student. So I always say it's a give and take policy and everybody should contribute for the everybody's success. And that's why we always say in research, we never say I. Even though single person do the reaction, I never encourage any research scholar to say that I did it. We always say we did it. It's a group activity, and when we say we, it is our affiliation also included. So one of the way to not to have stress is the coherence. One is having multiple plans. So if that one doesn't work, one can go for other. Second, respect others' results also. So when you have completed any experiment in an instrument, make sure it is further calibrated. Make sure you have cleaned it well. So the next student it's ready to use. Whether it is a cleaning of what you call glasswares, whether it is a calibrating of the equipment, or even locking something, unlocking something, the maintain the schedule. So everybody's time is very important. And by mistake, by small accident or anything broken by or any chemical was spilled, it's always better to report immediately. And we don't know, that might be precious chemicals which is not available and somebody might have planned for next day experiment and nobody is aware that that was broken 1 week ago or this glassware was broken. So it's the second one is respect for others' work, and the first one is to have a different plans, and probably the third one to speak out. You need not to tell to everybody every problem, but whomever you trust, maybe in the lab, maybe another lab, maybe it is from different department. Speak to somebody whatever you are feeling, whether you are trying to give a manuscript to your professor and he is unable to or she is unable to correct, or your research is not going, or you think that guide is not giving you enough attention, or you think that you are not getting a slot. So speak out and talk to the colleagues, talk to the people, so the stress can be reduced. And of course, before joining, you know pros and cons. You know that research may take longer time. You know that there are so many uncertainties in the research. So you have made yourself, the day when you join, you are very happy that, yes, I got a position, I got this one, I have a fellowship. And when you join that day itself, you know that when your fellowship will end. So keep yourself mentally ready. And these are the 4 points I told. Probably the final one, I would like to add that problems will come and go. You have to sustain, and then only you will succeed. Every day is not same day. Sometimes you may think that everything is going bad. You couldn't see the professor, your reaction gone bad, your paper got rejected, and your friend was celebrating, they didn't invite you. Everything can happen at a time. But still you be ready. If something is not going around, just go out of this one and enjoy. Have a cup of tea with friends, or go watch the movie or something. Sometimes every day it's not same day. Take it as a challenge and do well, and the next day you do with better one. And as I told you earlier, it's not 9 to 5 job. If some working day you are unable to focus more, maybe you give up your one weekend or one holiday and patch up, so the stress will go down.
Mm-hmm.
And in PhD, we can't say it is a stress-free thing. Stress would be there. Stress you should convert into productivity. Sometimes stress is good if you can give it positive side. So stress coming is okay, but not holding stress longer is not good. Temporary stress which make you to work more, it's good, but don't take it so seriously and don't hold for long.
Absolutely, sir.
Share with others, things will be settled.
Nice. And sir, this is also something which we always say at our Researcher Celebrity platform, that stress is part of normal human beings in general. Starting from a toddler or a baby who's in the cradle, they crying, trying to convey their messages. Researchers, stress, again, as a human being, it will be there, but as sir mentioned, it should not be chronic. Temporary stress is good. You might not have a good day today, but next day everything is working and then you don't have any stress for that. But this is also one thing which we always try to mention and emphasize, that it should not be chronic. And as sir mentioned, if you think it is going out of the hand, you should be vocal. You go discuss with your family, with your friends, with your supervisor, whosoever can understand you and you think are capable of giving the solution, which in most of the cases are the supervisors. Your PhD supervisors are the one who knows your research in and out, and who probably will be help you the best way out also. But in some cases, what we have seen also, that it all comes to the relationship between a supervisor and the student, the conflicts over it. And then now I would like to ask, sir, what you suggest our PhD students, that what or how they should deal this conflict of PI and student?
Conflict between student and guide,
Yes.
it's a wide topic, and many institutes come up with so many guidelines. So when you join for a PhD, just go through the entire guidelines. It definitely tell if it is academic related, like position of authors in the paper. There are certain set of guidelines, whom to speak, what is the way. First and foremost thing is, in a normal way, you express your unhappiness or happiness or understanding or misunderstanding directly to the supervisor. If you think that you have a conflict with the supervisor himself or herself and you don't want to talk, every institute has come up with the guidelines. So you must know and read that guidelines where it is available. And then there is a line manager above your supervisor. Maybe it's a doctoral committee or the chair of the department or the dean. But before going to them higher authority, just go through the guidelines of your institute, what it says. If it is a ethics, if it is a research ethics, or if it is a interpersonal relations, or if it is about the funds or in the laboratory, or it is a conflict between student and student and it went beyond. So for everything, there are certain set of rule in all the institutes, whether it is a small institutes or the big institutes. One should be aware of that. Ignorance is the problem. You cannot say that I was not aware of this. You should be knowing this, and you should be knowing not after you are in trouble. You should be knowing before the say. So, and sometimes it is talking openly with your contemporaries or your fellow research scholars is good. And even in the student community, there are what you call student bodies are there in every institute where student can discuss directly with the problem with the students. So you should be aware of this. And many websites clearly tells that where they're supposed to go if it is ethics related problem or harassment related problem, or it's about personal related problems, or you have some kind of grievances. The grievance committees are there. You must be aware of, and please make sure that confidentiality will be maintained. But if you still aware, if you are still not sure that once I talk against my guide with higher authority, if my guide come to know my PhD will be problem, if you think like that, then you don't put it in writing. Go and tell them in orally, and also I request you to keep confidentiality. I'm sure in every institute, higher officials are aware how to maintain confidence. So one way, if you really want to complain, it can be in a writing form by following the rules. But if you want to settle it down without writing in complaint, you can still do it orally and as per the guidelines of the institute and as per the guidelines of higher authorities. They may, if it is really required, they may ask you in writing, and that time you have to take it. It's not a problem.
Absolutely. And this is something which I want to tell all the audience and viewers here, that your passion makes you or drives you to join a lab. Before joining the lab, always try to do, as you do all the homework for planning your experiments, this is also a homework, should be a homework, because you're going to spend 3 to 5 years of your life in that lab. The lab work, the lab culture, the PI, you should always check these things before committing, or before signing up for PhD. If there is a rotation policy available, that is the best deal. But if it is not, then you can request couple of weeks in labs which you are interested in. If you have to decide among top 3 of your interested scientists lab in an institute, you should always try to work it out that you can stay a couple of weeks in each lab. That will at least give you a hint that how the journey for 5 years will be. So as sir also mentioned, now there are, once you have committed that, okay, you are going to be in the lab for so many years, second step should be getting all the information, because either we speak it or not, it can be just student conflict, it can be PI student conflict, it can be so many. So conflict is something which is inevitable in any PhD ever. That is what we have heard, known the stories. Instead of giving up on your hopes and dreams, get the information, resolve it, and go where you really want to go, because nobody joins a lab to stay there forever. So coming to this question, sir, when you see that in present scenario, there is so much of data available that when PhD students quit their PhD after spending 3 to 4 years, or sometimes in 5 and 6 years in a lab, when they should have or might have got PhD, but they drop it out. And in few rare cases, but that is also, the number is going up, they commit suicide also. How do you see this, and what are the suggestions you extend to the researchers?
Okay, before going, let me say a disclaimer. I am not expert in this field because this goes beyond our scientific expertise. This is about the human behavior. Yes, it is very unfortunate. It doesn't matter whether it's a PhD student, whoever forcefully ending the life, it is very, very unfortunate. As I said, this is not my expertise and domain. Let me restrict to the PhD scholars and the research. Many times, PhD scholars may resign for various reasons. Maybe they got a job, maybe they, if it is a female students in some rural areas and some belongs to them, they got married, and then the in-laws or some other people or a partner might have not supported longer enough to complete the thesis, or there may be let's say the students while doing PhD, their main focus was not PhD, but like making a tuition classes and earning some small amount of money, or preparing for civil service or other jobs. So there are many reasons. Many students feel that PhD from day one, I need not to work hard. And many students feel that no, we have got a huge amount of fellowships, and the PhD is a stopgap positions for looking for settling in the lab. So there are pros and cons why student won't get degree. But if it is due to anything to do with the system or the faculty, of course, the institute can look into that in details. And this is, of course, depending on case by cases. So I would not like to comment much on that. But the end, whether they are getting degree or not, I tell my student many times, what you are earning is experience. What you are studying in these 5 years, how we have to think different, how our thinking convert or our idea convert into reality, and how to maintain ourselves when our results are showing failures, how to enjoy and celebrate and still in limited when we are getting success. So how to digest both failure and success. And when at the end of 3 or 4 or 5 years, you may get one piece of paper and you put a doctor prefix to your name. That is not the piece of paper. It's the experience of several years, how to handle the situation. And that's where in many jobs, when you are PhD or you are not a PhD, there is a huge difference. They say, okay, PhD means he knows or she knows how to tackle the issue, how to maintain the calmness. So this teach many things. This teach many things. So I'm sorry I didn't tell much about your direct question or conversation, but I hope I touched a few things.
No, absolutely. And sir, this is also something which we always say to all the audience here, that researcher celebrity believes in breaking the barrier. And we start with, as you said, so we came up with this name as Let's Celebrate Research. And that's what makes everyone a researcher celebrity. So even if you are doing research in the labs, not as PhD student, you are as equally important as any professor in the universe who's doing their.
Yes.
So
and in a previous point, you were mentioning that before joining a lab, we should do thorough search, because maybe when you join a lab, there might be some limitation. The group where you want to go, it's not about a student like a faculty, but faculty also should like the student. It's a mutual concern is required, and mutual concern is also not adequate sometimes, because there should be a vacancy.
Yes.
So we have to. There are so many ifs and buts when you go for a writing what you call a PhD entrance exam or a PhD interview. When you qualify, and that time itself you should be clear how many professors have vacancy. And I'll tell you, in this entire world, not in India or some country, in entire world, there is no research group where everything is positive.
Yes.
There is no research group where everything is positive. So you have to look at pro and cons. Sometimes you may get a quick PhD some places. Sometimes papers will come slow. Sometimes resources are very large. Sometimes the seniors and postdocs are so many to help you. And sometimes you have a lot of equipment, and what do you call, the problems are well set. So the day when you can start research, and if you go and join very young faculty, Sometimes you are the first student of that faculty, then you have to develop the lab and do everything from the scratch. But the training what you get, it's amazing because your faculty, since he is very young, your guide, he may not be involved in too many administrative activities and he may be looking for his own career. So he will have more field. He put lot of time with you. So there are always pro and cons. If your guide is mid-career, if your guide is senior, if your guide is very young faculty, for every stage of your guide, you have positive things, you have negative things. If your lab is too crowded, you have so many positive things, but same times you have so many negative things also. So I repeat my statement. I believe in this world, there is no lab. Everything is positive, which you think it will fit. So it's a compromise between few negative things and more positive. So you know that where you are joining.
Absolutely. And this is something now which we'll take forward, sir. Now you have experienced, like as a student or a postdoctoral fellow, research in couple of countries. Then later on you managed or developed projects internationally. Now it comes to the PhD students or the PhD aspirants in India who want to pursue their PhD abroad. What would you like to tell them?
See, from PhD to postdoc, it's a very enjoyable journey, and but nowadays it is becoming too competitive. For one position, there are so many. So while doing PhD itself, you have to see your CV is diversified. There is something different than others. So if you are doing experimental, add some computational knowledge in that. You are doing computational, have some collaboration with experiment. If you are doing academic research, have some workshops or some industry experience or some 2 3 months internship or something. You have additional things in your CV, whether it is a you have gone for one patent or you have gone for a book chapter or you have attended a workshop or you have presented your work in an oral presentation, you achieved one certificate. So from PhD to postdoc, you cannot start searching for postdoc after your PhD YY is over. You should target from the day one. So while doing PhD, you look and you should be following, you should be feeling that, okay, I would like to go to Australia or I would like to go to Britain or I would like to go to the US. And if you should have some 5 6 labs option that this is my ideal condition. If I go here, I would be very happy. So while you are doing PhD, just look at their group where you would like to go. If they recruit a postdoc there, what is in that postdoc CV? Are they are looking for more than 5 6 papers, or they are looking for high impact papers, or they are looking for diversity of having patents, book chapter, workshops, and experience industry? What is their requirement? So you tune your CV according to that. So it's a 5 year plan. So while you are doing for your PhD, you are at the same time looking for postdoc where to go. And this is from PhD to postdoc. But postdoc to coming back to faculty is coming back home, happiness will be there. But soon that happiness will go away because you enjoyed in a postdoc where somebody said, made everything ready for you. You need not to struggle for anything. Space is there, chemicals are there, instruments are there. It's like a royal treatment. You don't have even a tension of getting a degree, whether your paper will be accepted or if not one, other will be. So the most transit period and most enjoying period is a postdoc. But soon after you come back, of course, we know that it's a temporary. And soon you come back, everything you have to convince your colleague, you have to convince your chair, you need this much space. You have to do everything from scratch. You don't know what it mean by what you call tender. You have to do modification. You have to ask for the quotation. You know what is comparative. There is, of course, there are administrative staff to help you, but you cannot completely depend on it. them. They will ask you, sir, this is your lab, what you would like. So you need to have a design capability, how much space management, how I will put equipment, how I will put the wet lab. And when you now, so far you are seeking for the job, but now you are sitting in an interviews panel where PhD students you are interviewing. You have to judge a student whether he will be a good or not so good candidate for your research, whether that candidate have a passion. See, if you are looking for a PhD student, somehow you want a student, and if that student is not good, you will frustrate for 5 years. So you should have a capability to judge quickly. You should have capability of managing space. And actually you will be hired for teaching. So you have to teach well, and enter your peers, your colleagues would like to frame some impression about you. So early impression will last long. So you have to attend all the meetings. You have to take administrative responsibility. You have to develop your own. You suddenly feel that from big kingdom, you are in a place, nothing is there and everything you have to. But this is challenging, this is rewarding, and you feel when small things get it done. Your first student join, your first equipment come, your first reaction come, your first paper come from your lab where you are the corresponding author, or you designed that experiment. So far you are working for somebody who is giving you some freedom, but largely it is their idea. Now you have to do everything. So there are two different things we spoke. Both of them are enjoyable. Both of them are challenging.
In fact, this is the sweetest and the shortest description if I have had this conversation at Researcher Celebrity platform. So for all the audience and viewers here, Sir has shown you the path from the day you join a lab as a PhD student to the day where you are the one who's doing interviews, who's taking interviews for the students to join your lab. And this was the best I have ever heard. I hope all of you also might be able to understand this and follow this in your life and get to the success. Now we are approaching towards our time limit for this. Now the last question. Sir, what are the word of wisdom? Although you have shared all the journey suggestions, but if to conclude the video, what are the suggestions you give to the researchers in India?
Yeah, my wisdom is only for youngsters, and the one line, very one line, or only 2 words: enjoy the journey. Whatever destination might be, or whatever outcome might be, is a success and failure is a part of the journey. And the success and failure's definition is different for different people. So don't define what is success, don't define what is failure. Put your 100%, and whatever it comes, take it, enjoy the journey. Thank you.
Well said, sir. So now I'll say, to conclude this, I'll just say that sir has mentioned just do whatever makes you happy instead of putting into definition of success or failure. Thank you very much. So, sir, we will say thank you very much, Professor Ramesh Gardas, for enlightening or guiding so many young researchers who are yet to travel their journey and complete, probably. And then next, to all the viewers, that if you want to write to directly, Dr. Ramesh is there. If you want, Professor, you have, you have seen the passion, the positivity he brings to research. So if you need guidance or you are planning to join his lab, please feel free to write it to him for suggestions and critical, analysis of your ideas. If you want Empowering Science Foundation to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, feel free to write it to us, and then we'll try to bridge the gap, because that's what we believe in, breaking the barrier. With this, we'll say thank you very much. Stay tuned, you all, and thank you, Professor Ramesh, once again.
Thank you, and thank you all, and wish you all a happy research journey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.